Oh, hello. We're live.
It's live. We're doing it. It's Tuesday. It's 5 p.m. We are the team from the Architecture Social and McDonald and Company. My name's Jack Moran. I'm joined by Will Ridgway and Stephen Drew. How you doing today, boys?
Hey, I'm all right.
I'm good,
How are
thanks.
you,
I'm
Jack?
good.
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Not too bad, thank you. Still trucking on in this apocalyptic world, but we're still going, aren't we? So
Apocalyptic. I don't see any nuclear bombs outside. I think you've been playing Fallout too much, Jack.
I've been hiding in my house, haven't I? You know, so I'm still wondering if I go out there, what's it like?
Well, that's all right. We can go out now as long as we're under anyone under six. Six groups. Don't worry. In fives, the virus won't catch you, but six too much.
Oh, also remember the virus knows when you're at work, so when you're at work, it won't get you. It will wait at the door, won't it? Saying, "Oh, God damn it!" So traditionally, a lot of our podcasts have been sort of centered around architectural careers, haven't they? So we decided that as we are recruiters, we've gone for a bit of a topic today, which is a bit niche, but I think to anyone who is either someone looking for a job or a recruiter or even a client, an in-house recruiter who works for a practice, looking through the job boards.
Or an architectural practice owner, someone themselves.
Yeah. There's a lot to take from this. That's honk number one. We're gonna have to get a little counter going, aren't we? So yeah, job boards. Stephen, why don't you give us a sort of lowdown on the idea of them?
Okay, so job boards. I mean, we all know, we've all heard about or seen job boards over the years, right? And so job boards, they've been around for a long time. Not quite to the cave ages, but it's not far away from that. I think that back in the old days when I was a bit younger, now I'm creeping up and now I'm catching up. You'd find that most job boards were printed physically in magazines. So you'd have magazines, you'd have the Architecture Journal, you'd have BD for Jobs, you'd have stuff like that, and so it'd be Building Design magazine, and in the latter pages you would have the job adverts. And so that was how people found about jobs before the internet, because you didn't have the internet, you didn't have anything like that. So a magazine that would come to you in an architectural practice. So for instance, the Architecture Journal, when it was delivered, you'd have a little look at the jobs there. And anyone that publicized jobs on there, they would get applicants, because that was the only way, unless it was word of mouth and knew someone, you would find out about a job. And so the thing is, we've gone more and more digital. We've moved away from physical publications, and so job boards have been online. The thing is, there's more and more job boards, and now you have Google Jobs, which is an algorithm which collates companies, collates jobs, sucks in and data scrapes from company websites. And as well as that, you have other ones like Indeed and Nuvo. Okay, so you have these kind of newfound job boards as well. And so I thought it would be good to talk about this, because there's a lot of people right now looking. It's a bit of a tricky time. You have some people which luckily have their jobs, might be considering moving because perhaps the practice is struggling. You have some people who are unfortunately made redundant because of furlough, either being put on furlough or they've been made redundant because of the coronavirus, right? So naturally, your first reaction is, I need to look for a job. And I think that most people think as a first step, right, where do I find a job? And they look for job boards. And so my question is, are job boards still the most prevalent tool to find a job right now? It's the first thing we think about. Are they the most effective? Because times have changed. You've got a lot of job boards. And I wonder whether they're the most successful way to go about looking. So that was why I thought we'd talk about this. So I'm going to throw a question. I'm going to have a bit of fun with this new app. So William Ridgway, and I'm going to try and focus it on you. Oh, there we go. William Ridgway, the spotlight is on you. What is your opinion on job boards right now? And do you think they're an effective tool to get a job in this current climate?
Well, as you said, they're like the go-to place. If you're looking for a job, the first thing you do to find a job is a job board. And I think that's just because we've all grown up or been educated to basically say that's where we should go to find a job. and we've not been told otherwise, and so that's our default location. And the problem with that is that everyone does it, and whilst it's effective, to put an advert out there and get lots of recipients, the problem is, from what I find anyway in recruitment, is that you get a lot of recipients, a lot of people, and it becomes very difficult to stand out. And I think as well, from a employer's perspective as well, it's difficult to make your job stand out amongst every other job on the job board, because again, when an employer wants to advertise a job, get it out to as many people as possible, they also use job boards mostly. And so it becomes, there's just so much going on over there, and it's very difficult to stand out and actually basically showcase your studio that you might be advertising for the role. It's difficult to show that, and as well as a candidate as well, you get very limited information. You generally have a limit, unless you do further research where you go onto their website. You'll generally have a sort of a finite amount of information that gives you an overall idea of the studio. And things as well, if you're desperate and you're looking for a job, particularly nowadays, it's important to have volume as opposed to quality. If you put volume and go through so many different jobs, you don't have time to go on every single website. So I don't particularly think they're good default, but I don't necessarily rely on them at all.
I agree. And so you've touched upon a few things. So from an employer's point of view, because job boards cost money, and like everything else, if you find someone, great, it's a return on investment. And I think over time, what's happened is there's been so many job boards that I've used job boards before. When I had my recruitment company, I used Zine, and once or twice we found someone, and that's great. You spend 200 quid, you find someone, it's like, oh, happy days. That was an easy process, and the return on investment is quite high. There's a lot of times, and even for instance, as a recruitment consultant now, we pay for job boards. I pay for job boards, and it's really questionable amount of sometimes the quality of candidates, and you can't blame them, because I think, as you said, sometimes it's really hard to, if you got loads of jobs in this job board, right? How is your company going to stand out? And it's the same thing when we post a job. It's a delicate art form to kind of convey the company on a job board, especially in a crowded market. And so it's the same thing that you have with candidates as well as employers right now. So employers, I think that you're going to get more applicants right now using job boards because of coronavirus, but the question is about the quality of candidates. And on the flip side, if you're someone looking for a job right now, it's like what Will said. The first thing everyone does is look on a job board, right? So I question, if a job goes on Zine right now, I guarantee you their inbox is teeming. It's full of applicants. And the issue is with that is that if, for instance, the architectural practice is organized, yes, you can go through it. If they've got plenty of time, great. And they can sift through that, but it's going to be overwhelming. And if the company's under pressure, these CVs can get completely lost. And chances are, if a job's been put on Zine, I reckon after this, one day after right now, that inbox is so full that you're competing with so many people. So we got catch-22. So basically, the nature of a job board, it changes seasonal. So right now, because of coronavirus, there is less jobs than there are people looking. Okay? So that means that if a job goes up, you're likely to get a good response. So that is better for the employer currently. I would say about a year or two ago, it was the opposite situation. So when you're in a position when there's plenty of jobs and you're trying to attract the best person, the right person for a role, then you're going to find that the jobs are going to get, the job boards, they can work sometimes, and other times that job might be lost in translation. So right now, the point what I'm trying to say is, if you are someone looking for a job, if you find a job on a job board, chances are there's a lot of applicants for it. Okay, so if you're someone looking for a job right now, I pose the question: do you think your chances of finding a job are high or easy if you apply for a job on the job board? Maybe if your CV is great, you might stand out. There's going to be a lot of competition. So what I wonder is the way that job boards are changing, the way that Google is changing, the way that everything's changing. We have all these tools online, okay? And it's the same thing whether you are a company or you are someone who is looking for a job. Because if you're someone looking for a job, you need to convey a good impression of who you are, what you're about, and you need to get across to this company your skill set. You need to reach out for them in all the noise. And there's a lot of noise right now. There's a lot of competition. Okay. So if you're someone looking for a job, you got to get your CV and portfolio. Now, the easiest way to reach out to a company is to approach them direct. And we've talked a bit about this in the past, Will and Jack, on our seminars, how to go about, on our webinars, how to go about looking for a job directly. And I think with all the tools we got at hand, you can quite easily go on Google, find jobs close to you, find the right kind of company. And if you approach them direct and there isn't a job advertised, then chances are if there is an opportunity, you're going to have much more luck. You're going to have much more luck competing for that role because it's off the market. And it's the power of knowing people as well. Because in a time and age where everything is online, something that isn't online could be equally special. If you know someone who can recommend you for it, you're going to get that step up. And you're going to basically beat this job board competition world. And so that's the question I pose. So are jobs still useful? I think they serve a point. I think it's changed. And I think that the role of a job board is diminishing. Everyone said for years, including me at one point in recruitment, Jack, job boards are going to die. They're going to be dead. And I don't agree with that. I think they'll always serve a purpose. You just have to know how they are. And so if you're an employer or if you're a candidate, they're a tool to use. And like what Will said, the job board, it might grab someone's attention if you're an architectural practice, but it's a very limited scope. And it could be someone just applying. So if you're an architectural practice, you want to promote the company culture. The best way to attract people is to promote good design, have a very clear website, which people can find by location or by keywords. And then when they're on the website, they see the architectural practice, they see the company culture, they get a feel for the practice, they get a feel for what it's like to work there. And that will attract more people, good quality people who have good values that ideally resonate with the company. And therefore, when someone applies direct, over time, you will have people which match your synergy. Okay. And it's the same thing with as a candidate. So if you are someone job seeking, if you've got your CV and portfolio, and if you are looking at the moment, and if you go searching for architectural practices off the beaten track, everyone knows about Heatherwick, everyone knows about Zara Deeds, and you'll get the same people posting jobs. There's a few that do not post their jobs. I mean, Skidmore and Merrill never post a job. That's a big company. But there's loads of companies that we work with. For instance, nice companies, medium-sized, 10 people to 20, 30 people. Great companies. And when you go on their website, they're fantastic. Maybe they're just not as prominent in your perspective. And your perspective is formed by what you see online in your current world. We're all in our own little bubbles. Okay. And if you just use job boards, then you are fragmented to one particular little bubble. So I think you need to, if you're someone looking for a job, view them as a tool to be used, but remember they're highly competitive and they're the old age formula. So what I think now, boys, would be really good. So Mr. Jack Moran, let me throw you up. Let's get you up on there. Oh, Will, wrong person. Right. Why are you taking the space up? Let's get Jack on. All right, Jack. Jack, good to have you here. Will,
Thank
stop
you,
in the camera. And I'm just thinking out loud. So we're talking about a job board as a tool. So how many other ways can we think of that will get people a job right now? How many different ways? How many tools have we got? So maybe we can go through digital. So what we got? LinkedIn. What we got, Jack?
You've got LinkedIn. You've got job boards. I mean, you got to kind of look at it like this as well. I feel like we sit at the sort of tipping point where, how you're talking about job boards. They're simply going to become like mundane. Well, they already are mundane, but I think that we're at the tipping point of where
if any job boards are watching, Jack Moran called you mundane. I didn't say that.
Yeah, I'll say I'll
Neither did I.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah,
he's coming out strong.
Reason being,
mundane.
If you're, do you know what the most common people who are going to use job boards, right, are people who are looking for sort of a generalist role. Not necessarily something specific within a specific industry or market. Okay. So for those more experienced who like look in architecture, for example, it's highly unlikely, like you said, that you're going to find a lot of architecture jobs. Well, maybe part ones might be the exception, but traditionally speaking, it's going to be either through a headhunt or a recruiter, or they're going to have their own job boards on their own pages, or they might post it on Zine. Do you not think it's funny though how like job boards are the sort of reason that recruiters were essentially created in the first place? Because
right. I wasn't created because of a job board.
Not you per se. However, we touched on a topic earlier of how you get if you put a job advertisement on a job board, especially in this current climate, you're likely to get a huge amount of applicants, aren't you? Okay, so you think back just after dinosaurs, stopped roaming the planet when Steve was born. Then I think what we'll see is, well, that's what they would have had at the time. The reason recruiters, there's a need for recruiters in the first place is because there's far too much traction, isn't it, for the advertisement, and they simply don't have the resources to go through it. So in that way, that's what I'm saying. Recruiters do have sort of job boards do have sort of part to play. But like you said, now I don't think. Whereas a tool, I think, you give it another few decades, I think we're going to be at the point where job boards are going to become nullified.
Right. Okay. I kind of agree with what you said, but I asked for, and I'm gonna honk on.
Yeah, do you want me to answer the question?
I asked for how many tools are out there. Right. You're out. Will Ridgway, come on in.
To answer your question about other ways to find a job,
before Jack's war on job boards kicks off again.
Just push him in the background.
We know which camp Jack's in. I'm in the neutral camp, but I love Jack. I like that you speak your mind there. So praise bell. Very good.
So other ways to look for jobs. Obviously, you mentioned LinkedIn earlier, which I think LinkedIn, whilst it's not a job board, it does function as a job board as well a little bit. But the only difference is that people have their own profiles. It's a lot more visual as well, which is where it stands out a little bit to job boards. A lot of job boards, they don't have those visual images, whereas LinkedIn, you can quite easily click on and see what that studio is currently currently doing, what projects they're doing.
Yeah.
But other ways to go about it is to also just approach companies directly, because like you said, lots of companies don't advertise their jobs at all, and that's why it's important to go to their website, go to these websites, look at their company, because then that's, rather than writing a few paragraphs about why you should join the company or details of the job, you get to the sell is the actual website itself. You see the project, you see the culture, and then obviously there's a little bit about who and what they're looking for. And in addition to that as well, there doesn't even need to be a job requirement on that website. You can still approach the company and find out if they are hiring at all, or if they would need someone of your skill set. And so those are the other ways as well. So just go directly to it. I think as well, you mentioned it earlier as well, Steve, but it's about referrals as well. So if you've got a friend who might be looking for a job, you can always refer them to your own studio that you're working for at the moment, or even say, actually, I heard from someone else that this company's hiring. Might be a good idea to have a check over there, because word of mouth is generally it's not in the mainstream media where you see your Zaha Hadid advertising. It'd be these other niche but really good quality studios who are advertising, need help, who aren't necessarily getting as much attention as the top dogs. And at the same time, not everyone wants to work for the top dogs, so it's quite difficult to sometimes find these hidden companies. So it's about approaching them directly, and there's different ways you can try and find these companies, whether it's through Reba. Do they still have a page where you can find?
Right, good question. You asked that. So they have a job board right now, but I think the recruitment agency part of Reba's gone. And so, yeah, I think you're right. It's all about the way you're going to get a job is by reaching out to a company. And so a job board is a tool, right? There's many ways of reaching out, except the best way is going to do it. Your CV and portfolio is always going to be killer. And we've done a few things about talking about that, right? And the personality and going to a practice or getting on the phone and for calling up after you send the CV is going to always leave an impression, okay, which is going to go tenfold. So whether you approach a company directly or through a job board, as long as you follow up and then give it your best, so that the CV and portfolio is delicately done, it's done in a professional, clean way, we've done talks on that and about how to do that, then great. Okay. So a typical job board is a way to reach out a company. The point is they will typically have filled the. You're going to get more people for it. So what you're on about, Will and Jack, I love the enthusiasm, and what you were saying as well is that job boards right now, from a candidate's point of view, is competitive. From an employer's point of view, you are going to get a lot of applicants. The question is how relevant they are to the role, because there's a lot of people in a tricky situation, and they're going to apply. Okay, so it's a bit of a catch-22. So let's talk about specific tools. So if you are someone looking for a job right now, I would use Google and I would start mapping out all the companies near you. And I would meticulously go through all the companies step by step. And we've done a little webinar on this, haven't we, Jack and Will, where we go into specific how to reach out and kind of grab these companies' attention. So use the Google to map things by location and apply to them. Yes, look at a job board and keep an eye on it. You can actually use certain tools to, I think they call web trackers. So have a little look at a web tracker. You could set one up on a job board, okay? And so whenever, or email alerts, you have it on our website at McDonald & Company in terms of recruitment. So when a job gets posted, you get beep, beep, you get the reply, you get a notification, and speed is of the essence when those go up. So no harm in setting up job alerts. And I would say keep an eye on companies that you really like and you follow their news websites. And if you are interested in their work, then if someone wins, for instance, a project, drop them a message, say hello. Networking events, trying to make a good impression with people over time. That's a really good way. That's a really good tool to do it. Because if you think about a job board, what it is there's a job need. But if you post a job need, but if you have met the company and you've made a really good impression and they're aware of you, then suddenly when a job goes up, well, hey, why would they spend money and post a job or brief a recruiter? Because recruiters charge a fee as well. That's part of my time to find new people, to find the relevant person for the role. If they know someone already, then great, you get them on board. And that's the point of networking. And so my theory, or what I would take away, is think about, instead of just a job board, think about you being connected. That's actually our slogan with McDonald & Company. I need to get like a crisp sound. It's like, be connected. Remember like the Nokia thing? I always hear it in my head. But they were actually the slogan. Oh, what is it, boys? The slogan, be connected. There is something in that, because I think that rather than sending an application through a job board, which is a little bit unpersonal, the best thing to do to sell yourself is to be a real person and to make them aware of you. So I just actually noticed we got a little question come in here on Facebook. Ooh, have you seen this?
I was about to ask you that question, actually.
All right, cool. Go on, Jack.
So, as a recruiter, so as for you doing a recruitment, do you usually search for profiles to fill positions, or
we can put it on the screen? Hey,
I like that.
I like that. That's right, cool, isn't it?
Shotgun first. I'm answering this question first. So I think I probably have only ever filled one position during my time in recruitment from an application from someone actually applying to my job. I'd 100%, say that the large majority of positions that I've filled have come from me actively going out to the market, using the tools provided, and actually approaching people individually. I feel like, as we touched on, when it comes to receiving applications, it can be quite the dreary task if you have X amount of applications that you just have to sift through for a position. Whereas if you're able to utilize some of the platforms that we do in recruitment, such as the LinkedIn Recruiter service, you're able to gauge a much better idea of people's skills and capabilities, because you can look through their past experience, you can see what software they're savvy with, you can also see referrals from other people. I almost want to go as far to say, like, LinkedIn is the CV now, and LinkedIn is used all over the world and really scanned heavily by recruiters. So my answer would be 99% of what I've done has come through actively searching for people, not people coming to me.
That's interesting. And I kind of like that. I would say that as well. I think that in terms of recruitment, you're right that LinkedIn kind of, you can make a quick impression and you can search for certain keywords and find someone. I do think then it does come down to the strength of the CV and portfolio, especially in architectural roles which require design or technical abilities. But where it's interesting that you mentioned, Jack, because your specialization, you do architecture, but you also do the support staff and the strategic staff in architectural offices. And I think you're right there, especially though in, for instance, an office management role, you get quite a quick picture on whether the person's relevant. And that is through how well they've laid out their LinkedIn, not necessarily a job application. So what you're saying is that you've found people directly who have communicated on LinkedIn or reached out to you, or you've met, or you've been referred to. That's often a big one, isn't it? When I get a recommendation from someone and they say, oh, this guy, Will Ridgway, is the best, then
you take if I could just jump in, like you say, if you take practice managers, you take the HRs who work in these practices, a lot of them have networking circles, and because those kind of jobs will require a high level of maybe qualifications or certain sets of skills, which are normally detailed on people who have done those. It's detailed on their LinkedIn sections. And like you said, because people can give recommendations, and we always work off that golden rule that good candidates know other good candidates. It's all about the being connected sort of circle they stay within them. So yeah, definitely when it comes to the support roles, you're able to identify.
It's interesting because that's like a window into how you think in terms of finding someone. So if you are a job seeker listening, have a little think about how Jack went through that mentally. He was talking about how he finds someone, how he sees certain abilities. So how you optimize your appearance online, and how you are more online and offline. Actually, that's a good point. How you constantly market yourself online and offline is the key. So online, if your LinkedIn is tip top and you've got your beautiful website, if you've got one, then great, and all this stuff. And if you're active in the community, and then offline, so before coronavirus, you can still do it online now. But remember, I used to go to a lot of events, didn't I, guys? And then I'd meet some amazing people, and that's because they were there and I was there, and that's the point. You've got to be in it to win it, and that's what I like about. For instance, kind of what we did a little bit with the architectural social. Oh, let me get the banner up right now. Oh, come join us on the architecturalsocial.com. Just saying, might have a little quick look.
That's www.architecturalsocial.com.
Hey, yeah, I love it. I love it. What it is a sense of community, and what I've learned is that, see, the thing is, you can get lost on job boards. You can get lost on LinkedIn. You can get lost in all these places. And we've seen successes on the architectural social when people mix and they get involved with each other. And so it's the conversations that you guys have with each other is the strength, is the value to you. So someone said to me the other day, they sent me a message saying that they actually found someone on the architectural social and went to play tennis with each other. So we've set up a tennis club, but ladies and gentlemen, we've done it. And what I thought was interesting about that is connections. And so you have to think about people that you're going to meet in these groups. Could be hiring managers, could be directors of architectural practices of tomorrow. So when I joined the EPR Architects, I met some really good people who are now associates and kind of going throughout their careers. And I've gone in my career as well. And the point is, the people that you network with, and by being social, by speaking to people, speaking to your colleagues, keeping in touch with people that move to other companies, and generally being friendly. And actually, by doing a good job where you currently are, that's the word of mouth that's going to get you a job. Okay? If for instance, someone recommends you, that is infinitely more powerful than a job application on a job board. So, in a roundabout way, oh, what's that noise? Who's that? Is that you, Jack?
That'll be me. I live near the train station, so I get trains going past me.
I thought it was a bathroom there. So you can go if you want. It's all right.
We're streaming from the train station.
Yeah. Jack, I saw you on your phone. Who were you ringing?
I wasn't ringing anyone, mate. I was just checking out the architectural social.
Were you applying on a job board? Because I swear I will find that job board.
You know what I was doing? I was actually on the architectural social, just checking out some of the latest projects by some of our fantastic graduates who've just posted some of their work on there. Being a community that is. How's that? Huh?
Yeah, I feel like both.
Let's just get you on the big screen.
Yeah. I was sort of going to touch upon that question a little bit. I know you kind of really answered it already, but I think when you're recruiting and also applying for jobs, kind of boils down to two different things, and that's passive and active. So for a recruiter, passively recruiting would be to throw an advert out on a job board and wait for the replies to get back. And the problem with that is, what we've touched upon, there's so much information to get through, and it's quite difficult as well to convey the emotion of the studio. I think the fact that I get people who apply to my job twice on different days suggests that a lot of people, first of all, aren't necessarily reading through the adverts, and secondly as well, all the job advertisements are kind of mixing into one big one. It's very difficult to differentiate them, and that's where job boards fail, in the sense that you can't convey the emotion, the studio, the identity of the studio on a job board. And I think as well, when you're applying for jobs, you're just going through them. You don't get to digest the information properly, because you're just going through them one by one. Yeah. So for me, I can't wait necessarily to wait for someone to apply to the job that's correct. I have to go out there and find someone. And I think I've probably made 2 placements from people who applied to my job. Everything else is me going out there to find people instead, and that's or people ringing me up based on whether they've seen a job advertisement from me, but they ring me up first, and they immediately stand out because I suddenly have a personal connection with them, as opposed to just a online CV. And so it's not necessarily about just applying for jobs week after week. It's actually about going out there and trying to grab the spotlight for yourself. And to do that, you approach companies, you call them up, you be friendly, professional, and that's the best way to get a job from a candidate side.
Love it. Okay, so if we were to rank in a pecking order where we think a job board is, Jack, do you think the job board should be at the top of someone's list, or middle, or the bottom? Oh, I like your Roman Empire thing. All right, okay, that's cool. All right, Jack, you giving it away. All right.
And I can give a good reason why. And Will touched on it. Will just said a very good point as to why these job boards are becoming mundane. So, in this current climate, so you've not got a job. Oh my God, I need a job because I'm running out of money. Okay, so I better go onto a job board and start applying for some jobs. So I'm just going to go A, click, apply. B, click, apply. C, click, apply. It's becoming so much of a numbers game, sort of statistics when you're just pumping it out and you're not. I don't really feel like a lot of people are giving it their full attention. Like Will said, if he's had 2 applications from the same person in the same day, that really shows that they're not giving that much attention to what's going on. Yeah, great input, Will. I love that. But yeah, so that's why job boards, as a tool, they're great because you might always miss out something. But for me, there will always only be that tool at the bottom that just can make your life a little bit easier. Should say an architecture practice decide that they want to open the floodgates and let all the applications, all 16,000 applications, flood their inbox. Whereas you look at something like LinkedIn, where you have actual specific variables within a detailed search engine that allows you to pick out specific people based on even like experience where they've been, if they've worked at a certain place before.
So you like LinkedIn in terms of finding people. It's your favorite digital tool.
100%.
I get, when I post out a job on LinkedIn, because I have a big audience, I get a lot of people interested. If you're someone, remember, Jack, before you were the now knowledgeable, awesome Jack Moran at McDonald Company. Remember when pre-McDonald Company? They say now before you joined us, right? And when you were looking for a job, LinkedIn, I think it can be helpful, but it's a bit hit and miss. The best person to help find jobs was you. How did you go about getting a job at McDonald? That would be interesting to know.
It's gonna be funny.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I know I got it from a job board. So did
I.
Not you. Wow. You helped Jack out in the past. Nah, you're dead to me, man.
However,
that was comedy gold.
But what I said though is true, because even when I applied for the job, it came as a result of going through a job board and doing a bit of clicking and applying. I knew that I was quite into recruitment as an idea for a career, or I was into an IT as a career. And thankfully I came across Mac and Co. and I met your wonderful face, and then rest is history. But it still is. It is just going to always be that sort of mundane task. It's not going to have any sort of personality to it. The great thing we'll touch on as well about the whole LinkedIn recruiter thing is that you have that relationship ongoing. How much of the professional life is about relationships with other people, be it recruiter, potential employer, interviewer, anyone. It's all about relationships and being connected, as it were.
I think you're right. And there's relationships online and offline. And LinkedIn can be a catalyst to make stuff happen. But it's going to be the phone call or meeting someone or going to an event from that LinkedIn or from the architectural. So the architectural social is a really good example where I think the best people on the platform that get something from it are people that get involved and do something and show the case they work. If it's like, you don't want it to be, remember we used the analogy before, it's like a gym, what you call it, like a dance, and all the boys on one side of the wall, all the girls on the other, and you kind of got to get involved and mix it up. And I think in life that people remember I've done it because I mentioned this story before because me and Will were there, and there was, remember that guy that approached us, Will, and was just so on it to network and do stuff, and he works as our lead now. So point was he went out there and networked and he made things happen for him.
Face value for a reason, isn't it?
Yeah. But I kind of agree with you, Jack. As in these tools, if you use them, they're a catalyst to get there. But please do not think they're the be all and end all.
That's not the final straw. It has to be the individual person who really seals the deal.
Yeah, I think so as well. Oh, we've got a like as well in the corner. Have you seen that, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, gents, actually. We're all gents here. All gents. We got a little like. I'm getting used to this platform, so wait.
I can't see it.
Put me back in.
Can you see? So can you see the quick sanity, Jack? Can you see the chat that people? Can you actually move the stuff around the screen, or is it just me?
I think
just
it's just
you.
you. I'm glad.
Okay.
If anyone could do it, we would just be fighting for control.
Yeah, everything we'd be going like this. It's just going around crazies. Whoa!
What question did you want to ask me, Steve?
I wanted to ask you how you got your amazing job working on my fantastic team.
It was also through a job board. Now I will. I will argue.
Job board got the job again. Everyone's getting a job for a job board.
I will argue is that I think that job boards have different impacts between different industries. The reason why I don't feel like it works very well with architecture is because architecture is generally, whenever I'm speaking to someone about a practice, I'm speaking over the phone about it, the question they always ask me is that, can you send me a link to their website so I can look at their projects? You can't look at someone's projects on a job board, and that's where the job boards fail, because in architecture it's so visual. It's important.
Interesting point.
The job boards miss out on that. But in terms of using a job board on your search, I think it's still worth having a go at it, but I wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket, and I wouldn't necessarily use it as your main focus.
Yeah.
So I'd put it sort of like diagonally down, not all the way to the bottom, but like sort of like there, because it.
And that is why if Will would never be an emperor in Rome, because he can't even give it a thumbs down or a thumbs up.
Is he surviving? Well,
should we get a finish here? Oh, I'm not too sure. Maybe just put it somewhere there.
I wouldn't disregard them completely, because you can use job boards in another way, which I mentioned earlier, how you go through them and you can see a company's recruiting. You can give that company a call instead of applying necessarily straight through that post, and that's where you can basically find out who's looking for what at that time, and so that's where their purpose serves. But if you're going to apply to a lot of jobs and you want to get a job as quick as possible, which is what everyone wants to do, you want to move away from job boards, because they're so competitive and they're so densely packed that you just can't stand out, which is very, very difficult to stand out from them, because you're competing against people at all different levels. And so the best way to stand out is to not 100% avoid job boards, but you want to move away from them if you want to stand out. You want to do other things, like network, connect with other people. That's the best way to stand out, because you instantly build a connection, whereas a job board can't do that.
I agree. I think it makes sense. The job board, and what I would say, the further you get in your career, because you guys are slightly younger than me,
10 years.
More, maybe.
Did you reach another year recently?
Oh yeah, my birthday the other day. But yeah, a little bit. But I think the further you go in your career, the more difficult it gets for a job board. So sometimes you might find that role as advertising is perfect, and then if it's an architectural company, I would apply for it. And if you know the name of it, then reach out. If it's a recruiter, then reach out, have a conversation with them. So I got a job in 2009 because it was the same thing like now. It was basically the well, let me get you out of the way. Get out of the way. So I'm on there. So it was the global crisis, and I went. You guys know the story, and I'll keep it short. Yeah, I went through 1,000 companies. And then when I wanted to move from architecture to architectural recruitment, I wanted to apply to Bespoke Careers and a few others, because they were very particular architectural recruitment company, and I was impressed with their work, and they're a good company, and I wanted to apply for them. Okay, so that was me doing a very tailored approach, and I wrote a very custom CV, and I rang them up, and I followed up, and I was quite doggedly persistent about it. And that's how I moved to that. But McDonald and Company, it was the internal recruiter at the time who was looking for someone to join the architectural department. And they approached me with the idea. And I was interested in the company, and I learned more about them from that point. So I think between us, we've had, what's good about this is that you two, you've had a good experience with job boards. I never got a job from a job board, and that's the point, right? There's so many different ways to get roles, and you can't rely on one particular method. And I think the further you go, if you're building up in your career over time, you're building your own brand, you're building your own reputation. And it's the same wherever you own a company. It's the same if you are someone, you're just like me and you have your own personal brand. You have your own personal brand, you have a company brand. And the more and more you develop your reputation, your experience, your contacts, your network, it's the same thing. If you own a company, you're going to build up that network, you're going to get more clients, and you're going to get great jobs to work on, and then you're going to attract more staff. And then if you invest in a website, you invest in all this stuff, then people are going to see what you're about. They're going to be interested in applying, and you're going to get quality people. And the same thing as you have to start an industry from somewhere. Oh, Will's toilet's going again. And you have to start from somewhere, and you have to build up your reputation. And over time, hopefully you build up a good reputation based upon good experiences. You develop connections, and then suddenly, I guess the point is, you're not relying on stuff like job boards so much anymore, and therefore their value kind of goes down. And so, to answer, because what was the title? It was like, what did I call it? I was like, how job boards have changed and how you should adapt. I think that there are more job boards, maybe they have less use right now. Still, you can look at them as a tool. Remember, they're a tool to get someone's attention or something. But if you develop your own personal brand, if you work on your CV and portfolio, and you make connections by networking, you make connections by going to events, and all that stuff is going to build up your own personal network and stuff like, then you'll have a more robust LinkedIn, you'll have a more robust portfolio. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Do you think, guys, we should have, I'm kind of got the beer off my bonnet. What's it called? The bee in my bonnet? What's that? Yeah, the bee's out of my bonnet now. I kind of feel like I got that stuff off my chest. Will or Jack, do you have any last thoughts or questions to kind of summarize? Keep this nice and short and sweet.
Give it 30 years. I bet job boards will be gone.
Job boards will be, all right. Yeah, I wish I could. Isn't there a website you could set a reminder? And then
as recruiters, though, you got to notice just how digital and online everything is becoming. And it's almost like the foundations of how you get a job have shifted over the past 20 years. To correct me if I'm wrong. I wasn't, looking for jobs 20 years ago. But like I said at the start, Stephen,
why weren't you lazy?
Well, I was 6 years old, so yeah. My dad would probably agree with you, actually.
Oh no! Sorry, it was a light joke. Oh no!
So, like you said, back in the 90s, we were looking in papers for jobs, and then you fast forward, and now you can computers. I just think you fast forward another 20, 30 years, I think there's going to be something else. I think the whole idea of trudging through job boards and just doing a sense of clicking and applies when you're not really paying attention to what's going on. You just, the idea of you need money and you sort of do whatever for now. And as we've even seen in architecture and our department, everything is becoming so much more visual, so much more online, so much more engaging over, online. And the very way that we look for people has changed. The very way that we look for jobs is changing. So I don't know where the feeling's actually coming from, but you give it a few years, and I reckon I'll. If not wrong, I reckon, it's going to change.
Interesting. Do you know what I forgot to mention? I actually bought a job board, architecture.co.uk, many years ago. It wasn't that successful. So I forgot that gem until the end. Oh yeah, I used to own one.
That's why you're so resentful of it.
Yeah, and actually on the Architectural Social, we have this area for posting jobs. So there's definitely a place for it. And it's a bit like what we talked about with job boards. So you're always going to need one. How much you need them over time is questionable. And also, as a personal thing, if you can be someone that's not reliant on job boards, then that's a nice position to be in. And so that's the way I put it. You're always going to get a job board, maybe the Architectural Social job board. That'll be an interesting one. They'll be like, Steve, did you not see this video when you talked about job boards? And I'll be like, guys, it's a tool for everyone to use. But the point is, if you develop your own personal brand, whether it's a company or practice, that's better. Okay, so I think we're all losing the will to live live. We're going down in numbers. It must have been something you said, Will. How did you offend everyone?
I didn't know. I was probably
Maybe a few people from like Reed or CV Library.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna get some bad reviews after this now, boys. I tell you.
Let's bring it on.
Do you know what we're saying is still use job boards, but we're just painting the reality, and you can't rely on these things. And the more you invest in yourself, the better. The more you use these tools, the better. William. Okay, we need a segment for this. So I need a jingle. So I'm going to do a jingle for next week, but I'm going to do a little William's words of wisdom. Let's go, Will. Let's tell us what you think to close the show. And if it's bad advice, I'm going to press the horn.
There you go. That was it. Did you hear it?
What was it?
Use job boards, but don't rely on them.
Oh, I like it. No horn. Okay, cool. Let's leave it there. All right. Okay. Unless there's any other questions, I think we're good. All right. I've enjoyed this. So, Will Ridgway at McDonald & Company, Jack Moran at McDonald & Company, the fantastic architecture team. I'm Stephen Drew, head of architecture at McDonald & Company, and we can all be found on the Architectural Social. Join the community, get involved.
That's www.com, architecturalsocial.com.
Yes, exactly. See, that's why you're so indispensable to me, Jack. I need people like you around. Don't go anywhere. Do not go on job boards. I'm going to keep an eye on the job boards.
That's who I was on the phone to, mate.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Should we go? I'll end the podcast.
Until next week.
See you next week. Oh, we got to think of a topic. Well, what are we going to do?
We'll think about it.
We'll brainstorm in our next meeting.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
I miss you already. Bye.